you, and welcome to this very special edition of Bay Area People. The United States of America made history this week with the most remarkable election of our lifetime. Now, the entire world watched as America chose its next leader, an African-American man who was told that he could never have a shot at the White House. But color lines were crossed and history was made when Senator Barack Obama was elected to be the 44th President of the United States. Now, today we will speak to three noted community leaders and hear their reactions and thoughts to the most historic election in our history. I can't wait, so please stay with us. We'll be right back.
If there is anyone out there who still doubts that America is a place where all things are possible, who still wonders if the dream of our founders is alive in our time, who still questions the power of our democracy, tonight is your answer.
Well, that was history being made as Barack Obama became our president-elect of the United States of America. Emotions and expectations have been running high ever since. And this morning, we've invited three very community-minded Bay Area citizens who will share with us their hopes and dreams for the future of our country as led by the first African-American president. I'm very pleased to welcome to Bay Area People Vincent Pan. He is the executive director of Chinese for Affirmative Action in San Francisco. And then we also have Gilda Gonzales, CEO of the Unity Council in Oakland, and Dr. Julia Hare, National Executive Director of the Black Think Tank in San Francisco. And the three of you have been around for a while. You're very active. How caught up, obviously, were you in this election, and how did you feel Tuesday night when this historic moment happened? And I'm going to start with you, Vincent.
Well, I think that the buildup was so large that after the final announcement that the race had been called for Barack Obama, I think there was a tremendous sense of relief, also exhaustion. It's been a very long campaign, and for it to come out this way, I think just sort of put a final cap on what's been a tremendous two-year process.
Exactly.
We saw people dancing in the streets. We saw people crying tears of joy. We saw strangers hugging one another. All because of the excitement of finally turning the country in a new direction and having a leader who really represents all of us.
Mm-hmm. And Gilda, I'm going to ask you the same question. How are you feeling?
Well, I think we just took pause because we have been through so many elections where things went wrong. And so I think for many of us, we were just waiting for the next shoe to drop. But when it never did, it was, I think, a real burst of joy. And I think for myself, and calls that I got this morning, people resoundingly said, did that really happen last night? It was almost that we're not even used to having this kind of jubilation and celebration in our community.
And Julia?
Well, this is the first time, and probably in my life, that my phone rang all night long. The people were calling from Minnesota, Wisconsin, Chicken Vista, Montana, you name the places, and they were saying, did this really happen? Like you were saying. They were saying, was this a dream? Was this something that I was watching on the television, maybe a fictional movie or something of that nature? I said, no, I'm afraid that it did happen. They said, are you pleased? I said, I am absolutely ecstatic about this.
All three of you seem to be in agreement on this. Were people surprised that, and were they saying this because it was an African-American man, or was it because that the Democratic Party kind of took control of the future of our country for the next 4 years?
It's probably both.
Right.
You know, been out for such a long time, and then look what happened to us in the last 8 years when we had the Republicans in. I think that when the Democrats are coming now, they have witnessed what has happened to the people. You know, the jobs are gone. You have seen the economy. You've seen what is happening to the breakdown of public school education. Everything has gone wrong. And since the scriptures told us that a child shall lead them, this was the first time we've had that many youth and many young people who were elevated and pushed out there to the helm. They were jumping up and down. They were ecstatic. But the most important thing, it taught a lot of them who often believe that maybe this would never happen. Yes, I can. And if that is something that they are going to be able to repeat. You go in many public schools and you'll see all the presidents around the wall in these schools. But look, we've had 43 white men as presidents and 43 white women as the first ladies. Now, it would seem to me that when mentioning change, I would think that everyone would be pleased. All races, all nationalities would say, well, now we have turned the helm over to someone else, but it doesn't mean that we're not all one and that we can't work together.
It really helps when you saw the family,
yes,
the new first family, walk out, 2 young children, a good-looking husband and wife, and this togetherness that you felt, you know, this happiness. And it, you know, I felt really good. Yeah, it was love, and it felt really, really good that we have a future. But part of the reason why everybody's here is that this is an African-American man who was voted in, yet what about the Asian community? What about the Hispanic community? How did you feel? How do you think your constituency felt? When I saw the crowds and you see a sea of different faces, especially the white population that was so happy and joyful, you know, it made me feel good that, wow, people were pulling together. So I'm going to throw that to you, Vincent, first of all. What do you think?
Yeah, this was a victory for diversity. This was a victory for inclusion. On one level, I think people were just glad to say goodbye to the Bush administration and to start tackling the problems of the economy and restoring the nation's standing in the world. But on another level, I think for Asian Americans, there is an understanding that, hey, this really does open up the possibilities. This allows us to imagine the future in very different ways. And I think that any time you break some type of barrier, it's not just a victory for one small group, it's really a victory for the common good, and to see our country as a place that really can work for everybody.
I think you told a producer that this means that, who knows, maybe in 10 years or 20 years or sometime in the future, we might have an Asian American as president. So the possibilities are open.
That's right. Those are the emails that I get, those are the phone calls that I get, and I think it's very simple for folks to make that connection. Hey, if we can have an African American president, maybe we can have an Asian American mayor.
Well, this was the first time we really truly defined to a lot of people the meaning of the United States of America, because we had called it that ever since its inception, but we actually hadn't practiced that.
That's right.
Because if you look at the Senate right now, there are no black women in that, and that must be worked on. There may not be any Asian women. That should be worked on. Now to make it all inclusive, because other than that, we will continue to complain about the taxation without representation when we are not represented there. So a lot of people were pleased at this to say, well, now maybe at last we can all come together, that we can go to the department stores, to the banks, and see everyone with the jobs that they need. Maybe the recession will end because this person did not promise just to help one group. Then the president-elect said we must all work together as one.
This is just the beginning. It's a long haul. And Gilda, I'm going to come to you in a second, but we're going to take a short break because what I want to talk about next is, and you just put it on the table, the expectations are very high for this president. Let's talk about what the expectations are. So we're going to take a short break. We'll be back in just a minute.